Michael Joe O'Malley isn't the sort of man who would sit still and vegetate when the working day ends on his small farm. He brews his own beer and makes his own wine. But mainly, he reads. His house is full of books. The walls of the house were decorated outside by an artist friend of Michael Joe's. The paintings depict the animals on his farm, a donkey and the two dogs. Aside from the dogs, Michael Joe lives alone, and from his reading and his experience, he has arrived at a philosophy of life that is very much his own. Michael, how long have you lived on Clare Island?
Since I was born, of course.
All your life?
All my life.
Yes. How many times a year or in your lifetime, say, would you, or do you want to leave the island, or have you left the island?
I felt like leaving it when I was young. It's part of this adolescent thing, going against established ideas, but you come back to those again when you get older.
Yes.
And I wouldn't feel like leaving it for the last 20 years.
Could I ask you a little about, if you could think back to your childhood, to the education side of it? Now, you are an educated man, which becomes very obvious talking to you.
I went to school until I was 12 years, if that's what you mean by academic education.
Yes.
I stopped when I was 12 years.
Why was this now? Did the schooling actually stop for everybody?
There was a national, it's just a national school. And there's no point in going afterwards. The teacher didn't teach anymore.
And were you taught, all of you, say, how many of you were in the school together, in the class
30,
together?
There was 35 going to one school and 40 to another here at the time.
There were two schools at that
Yes.
time. Did they have a problem getting teachers in those days? Because they obviously have today.
No, not that time. Jobs were scarce at that time.
And the teaching, would you say the quality of the teaching was better, or is the standard better now?
If you say this, got a free hand at the time, they don't now. But no, the teaching was all right. I don't think teaching has very little to do with the people, but that's a personal view. Mm-hmm. You learn yourself. What's it got teachers to do with those things? If you're interested, you learn what you're interested in.
Now, how do you spend your day?
How do you mean? A day like today?
A day like today.
I was shearing sheep yesterday. I should be shearing today instead of talking to people. There's so many different things to do when you live on land. You live close to the... that's the point of living on land. That's why the Gerald Fitzgerald and the economists horrify me. They're cutting the link with the land. In breaking up small farms, they're turning it into a business, which is a different thing altogether. You see?
Yes, are you confusing me slightly, Michael, when you talk about living on land?
I mean living on an economic holding on what are called the small farms of the country. You know, those don't provide a great amount of money, just enough to live on. But there is a relationship with the plants, with the animals that you can't have when farming is a business.
And you have this relationship with your plants and with animals?
Of course, and I think every other small farmer has too. They have never been given credit for having any feelings at all.
Mm-hmm. How about your own personal emotions, Michael? Is it isolated for you here, or are you so mature in yourself now from having lived so long alone here that you don't need people?
It's not isolated. In fact, it's not isolated enough. You find it is from isolation that you find compassion. That you find. I remember about a couple of months ago, Anthony Bloom and Dr. James Hemming had a talk on this on the third programme on the BBC, and they pointed out that very thing that I found, that it's through being alone that you find, this religious thing of charity. That is a feeling of well-being. Inside, you can be benevolent. It's like an anticyclone, a blowing out of goodwill. while the depression is the opposite, and a person that's unhappy can be vicious and